Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking episode 3 of season 3 of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. called A Wanted Inhuman. And honestly, I wasn't really that wild about this episode. Lincoln is a character that I'm still pretty lukewarm to. This episode was really kind of meant to flesh him out as a character, to give us some insights into who he was. And it did a reasonably good job of that. It's just, he's somebody who just, as a character, still doesn't really excite me. And the whole thing with what they do with Rosalind this episode, I wasn't a huge fan of that either. So let's just kind of get right into things. Now, the main thing this episode does, as I said, is start giving us some serious backstory on Lincoln. Now, we knew that he seemed to be a pretty good guy. He was really excited at first about the whole Inhuman thing, was really good at, helping people with the transition and learning about themselves. And, again, he had that medical background. Here, though, we kind of get some more insight into him in that it's never outright stated that this guy was that he gets help from was an AA sponsor. But he also sort of heavily implies that he had maybe thought about or even attempted suicide in the past. And this episode, like particularly that situation on the bus, shows that Lincoln is pretty good at thinking on his feet. So, that's all well and good, and him accidentally frightening his friend to death. Wow, it sucks to be Lincoln. And then Coulson stabs him in the back, and everywhere this guy turns, people are just dumping all over him. So it's a little bit hard not to feel bad for Lincoln, but again, I just don't really feel connected to him enough as a character to really be that upset about it. And then there's that whole thing where he's about to kiss Daisy, and I was like, literally like, no, come on, don't tell me you're going this way with them. Just because yeah, I'm just not really feeling a romance there. It just seems so convenient, you know. And honestly, I don't really have a huge amount more to say about that situation than that. Now, here we get a little bit more insight also into Rosalind, and it seems like she was pretty much just blowing smoke when she sort of implied that maybe the president answered to her. Here, the way she primps before she answers what she thinks is a call from the White House, and the way she's like, "Look, I've made promises and now I've got to deliver." Yeah, she's pretty clearly does not boss around the president of the United States, and very much the other way. And what's really interesting about her is that, she and the ACTU, they would have been really great guys at hunting down Hydra, but they have no idea what they're doing when it comes to the Inhumans. And by having this whole situation being made public, well, they even flat out say, okay, well, we need a win, and we're going to call Lincoln that. Now, Lincoln is not exactly a guy who is free of sin here. He has been guilty of having a hand in some bad stuff, particularly what went down at the end of last season. But for the most part, Lincoln's been nothing but a victim of circumstances. And he had even tried to go back and just sort of live a normal life and help people. And then the ACT ruined that just because they needed some good press. And that whole thing with Coulson. You can really see there that while S.H.I.E.L.D. was getting a read on them, they had the advantage. But now Coulson's got her number pretty well, and these guys are probably not going to do too well against S.H.I.E.L.D. in the future. Rosalind is really, really out of her depth in this whole situation. If they just sort of kept it quiet, then this would have been a lot better for everybody, especially given that S.H.I.E.L.D. was much, much better prepared to deal with this whole Inhuman situation. Never mind, as I said, that there's the remnants of Hydra out there rebuilding, which the ACTU would have been perfect for trying to deal with. Granted, they don't have the familiarity with Ward that the S.H.I.E.L.D. folks do, but they would have at least been reasonably effective. Here, the reason Rosalind gets any sort of a win at all, getting Coulson to sort of work with her, is because Coulson is so sick and tired of dealing with other people who work from the government fighting against him So she doesn't really get a victory so much as Coulson sort of says, like, again, he throws her a bone, basically, which doesn't really do her fake character any favors. And I wasn't too impressed by that whole stuff going on with Hunter and May trying to infiltrate Hydra. I mean, it just boiled down into this sort of, the bloody scenes from Fight Club, mixed with apparently thinking that Americans can't understand British people when they're drunk. I mean, yeah, it was cool to see May go out there and thrash 3 thugs, but did any of us have any doubt at all that she could do that? Not after 2 seasons of seeing that May is probably, after Black Widow, the one of the best combatants in all of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, yeah, they've even said that basically the only people who are better at that are higher up in May higher up in May is Romanov, and you could probably make a pretty good case that Hawkeye might be better than her as well. But she's probably in the top 10 of most dangerous S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and then they just throw 3 random street thugs at her. Yeah, okay, I don't really see that as being a big challenge. The best stuff for me was stuff with Fitz and Simmons. Daisy and Simmons, they had that nice conversation. And I really like how they took the time to say, hey, Simmons was off on this planet where gravity and air and all this other stuff was really different. Of course, her body is going to be horribly disorientated coming back to Earth. I mean, that makes perfect sense. And just the whole stuff with her and Fitz, particularly that scene at the restaurant, it's wonderfully, wonderfully touching. And then, of course, that comes to the big shocker at the end with... Oh, sorry, I'm trying to suppress a yawn here. With Simmons saying, I need to go back. Or that she wants to go back. So, obviously, the question is, well, what in the world did she see on that planet that would make her want to go back? So I think we're finally going to start. I think we're finally going to get some real answers as to what happened there next episode, which is great and all. But really, I just kind of hope that the next week's episode gels a little bit more, because this one just did not work for me for whatever reason. And honestly, that's probably why I don't really have more to say about it than I already have. So I'm going to call it here, guys. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.